Welcome into Live Before Lock for today's UFC Vegas number 57, which goes down in just under an hour from now in Las Vegas at the UFC Apex. Of course, will be headlined by a key matchup in the lightweight division, Tsarukyan and Gamrot. And of course, a great fight card coming up here tonight. A lot of interesting matchups in terms of GPPs. Of course, we're sponsored by PrizePicks. We'll talk a little about those PrizePicks props later on in the show. Unfortunately, last night was not a good night for me over on PrizePicks because I was targeting some of these fighters that I felt needed first and second round wins. Didn't work out for me over there. So got to try to make some of that money back here tonight over on PrizePicks. But of course, as always, I am joined by the fighter Pete Rogers Jr., who I know was catching some fights last night. His guy Brennan Ward going out there and getting a win. How were the fights last night, Pete?
What is going on, everybody? The fights were great. It was a nice little date night, and went there, enjoyed some action, and it was cool. Got to see, my buddy, teammate, and training partner Brendan Ward go out there and have another amazing performance. Outside of that, I just love being acclimated to my hometown arena, and I hate missing the cards when it's in my hometown. So it's like, if I'm not fighting on it, I at least want to be there. So I don't know. It kind of feels like, it's always good to have that experience, like whether I'm cornering somebody or whatnot. And it's like, okay, this is what it feels like, and feels natural after a while. And it was a great night. And I had a friendly bet with a couple of my buddies, and I was on the Eblen train, and they were like, "Oh, Musasi," and I was like, "Bro, I'm buying the hype. I am buying the hype." And Johnny Eblen did look damn good.
Yeah, I went out there, and you know what it reminded me of? A guy who was sitting in Johnny Eblen's corner, King Mo the Wall, back in the day when he utilized his wrestling to beat Gegard. That's what that fight reminded me of.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love Gegard Mousasi, but I have been targeting strong wrestlers against him just because I feel like he can get out wrestled and controlled on the mat. And when I saw what John Salter did to him, I was like, man, Austin Vanderford, he has great ground and pound. He's going to brutalize him. It didn't even get close to that. So I looked like a moron when I picked Austin in that fight. And I doubled down this time with Johnny Eblen, thinking, he can at least strike. You know what I mean? That's why I feel like he's a little bit more dangerous than Austin's, because you don't know if the takedown's coming, and he can compete on the feet if he needed to. So, but all in all, great card, and love having Bellator in my hometown.
Of course, we're here to break down UFC Vegas number 57. Of course, be sure to smash that thumbs up button. That does help us out a ton. Of course, subscribe to the channel here. Hit that notification bell so you know when a show is live here on the channel. We got tons of videos for you each and every day, whether you're looking for MMA coverage, MLB coverage. Of course, Terry and Gundak were on before us, getting you ready for tonight's MLB slate. And of course, speaking of MLB, if you're not a Stokastic Plus member, today's free premium data and tools are MLB main slate ownership projections and MMA rankings. Now, before we get into, I want to start to talk about roster construction. I do want to talk about a tweet that I got a little bit before the show where Alan had sent me a screenshot from DraftKings of noting where each fight had a different time, like, Frey and Demopoulos at 7:00, Tsarukyan Gamrot 9 p.m. And he was asking, hey, is late swaps about to happen in terms of DraftKings? And so I hit up DraftKings, and DraftKings said, if there are any changes coming to the product, we'll be sure to let our customers know. But as now, MMA DFS contest will continue with the same rules and features that you have been using. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there. So if you're on that DraftKings app, I think that when we look at the evolution of DraftKings, I think late swaps coming to MMA at some point. And I think that's going to be a welcome change to MMA, because we do know how some things have kind of changed there. But Pete, we do want to talk about roster construction here and how we're developing our lineups. Let's first talk about multi-entry. So here's my thought process for today. I do believe you need to look at adding some groups of fights that I believe are going to be critical for GPPs today. I think you could put the main event in there. I don't think you necessarily have to put the main event in there, but I think the fights you got to put in there, to me, are Boudreaux and Parisian, Bays and Durden, and probably I would say a throw in to me would be Curtis and Vieira.
Yeah, so top of the list for me is going to be Chris Curtis and Rodolfo Vieira. Main reason, the salaries, 8,600 for Curtis, 7,600 for Vieira, and their nature of winning. Chris Curtis, when he wins, tends to score really well, and I can see him knocking out Rodolfo Vieira. On the flip side of that, his Achilles heel in some specific matchups has been his wrestling and his grappling. I can remember back in PFL where he was, I think it was Magomed Karamov, if I'm not mistaken, was taken down and controlled. And you think if a guy had a better jiu-jitsu game, then he could possibly be submitted relatively quickly. So Rodolfo Vieira of the Underdogs is one of the guys I circled, despite being a Chris Curtis guy. I'm a Chris Curtis guy. I said, if this guy wins, it's probably early, probably rounds 1 or rounds 2. So I made a group on Awesemo, on Stokastic, using a fantasy cruncher tool. And, I just wanted to get to that fight. And in addition to that, I do feel like the Alain Badeau, Josh Parisian fight is one where the under 2.5 is viable, and one where it's just so low level. My one fear with that is if it's like a gas fest where both of these big boys just gas out and it's a clinch against the cage. And this does get extended, but I'd have to say that these guys make a ton of mistakes, Jason, and all these mistakes could lead to a high score on one side or the other. So those are the two fights that I'm really prioritizing. And for me, the third one, I don't hate the JP Bays and Cody Durden one. It's Sergey Morozov and Julian Paiva. Morozov has unbelievable potential in the takedown department, and Julian Paiva is pretty good at getting back to his feet, but he will get ragdolled throughout. Morozov just coming off of taking a ton of damage and getting submitted. I think that his chin is somewhat suspect right now. And a guy in Julian Paiva who hits hard and doesn't have the best grappling, but has some pretty strong striking. It's just it's going to be one-way traffic one way or another. So that's the third fight that I prioritize. And that's kind of how I built my lineups today.
And mentioned someone asked about the FanDuel construction, as I look at this slate today and thinking about the FanDuel scoring system, because obviously, DraftKings, when we're looking at those, people can, take the fight to the ground, control time, total strikes, things along those lines. Over on FanDuel, I just think that there's certain fights that I really don't want to get to. Like, I really don't want to get to a $21 Thiago Moises. I just don't really love that price. Now, getting the Yagos at $9, okay, I don't mind getting there. In terms of other ones that, I would say maybe concern me a little bit over on the FanDuel side of the equation, in terms of the favorites over there, I would probably say someone like a Mario Batista at $19. If that's a 3-round fight, which that's what I'm kind of expecting, I just don't know if he's ultimately optimal in a striking affair.
Yeah. So, the FanDuel salaries are always weird week to week, right? Like, and you can notice discrepancies. The big discrepancy that I see is Umar Nurmagomedov sitting there at $22. But if you think about the scoring system and how DraftKings favors strong grapplers, and on FanDuel, you like early finishers with striking styles, 22 still seems way too cheap for Umar Nurmagomedov. To have him in the same discussion as Thiago Moises at 21 and Jinyu Frey at 21 is ridiculous. I think 22 is pound for pound one of the best values on the slate on FanDuel, especially because it's reflected on the odds. Like, he's the biggest favorite on the card. So I really like him there. The mid-range is fine. I don't hate the mid-range. The cheap options, we're going to get to the Neil Magny one, because I feel like a lot of people want to talk about him on DraftKings, especially because it's a massive step up in competition for Rachmanov. But I'm going to say it, man, low level women's MMA, they keep putting these cheap price tags on them. I'm going to take advantage of it regardless of the platform, regardless of the volatility. And I'm going to get exposure and dabble in situations like that. Vanessa Demopoulos doesn't have the best wrestling. So how does her jiu-jitsu really, come into play? I mean, take this for what it is, right? But I was doing some social media stuff and checking out, and she's talking about all these hard wrestling practices that she's having at Fight Ready. If there's a team that's going to improve her wrestling, it's Fight Ready, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if they practice wrestling like more so than most camps. So if she can't learn wrestling at Fight Ready, it ain't going to happen. I would like to think that she can mix in a takedown and have some success with it. So for me, it just seems like low level women's MMA is my kryptonite, and I'm okay with just targeting the underdog sometimes, especially when I'm a little confused with some of the other underdogs.
And of course, I think one of the things you have to mention about the Frey and Demopolis fight is the fact that Jinu Frey does have a 6-inch reach advantage in that one. I know we're going to talk about PrizePicks a little bit later on. I know Greg had a video over on the Odd Chopper channel where he had talked about some takedown props over there. Jinu Frey was 1.5. That's now 1.
Damn it.
The 1.5 I thought was a good number. It being 1, it's not. I don't know that.
It was a great number, and I watched that video and I was like, "Damn, Greg, good point." And we got sharp minds here, at Stokastic, and we really like it. And I like hearing other people talk about fights too, And I value other people's opinion. And when Greg brought that up, I said, "You know what, Jason, that's spot on, because if she has any fight IQ, it's avoid the ground at all costs. So if she lands more than 2 takedowns, more than 1 takedown against Vanessa Demopoulos, A, she's dumb, and B, she's not tailoring her game around her strengths." So it seemed to me like the coaching staff would say, all right, maybe 1, be an opportunistic grappler, but besides that, let's not go to the takedown well.
In terms of single bullet, single entry roster construction. And I will tell you, when I was developing single entry, single bullet type lineups today, one of the things that I really got to this point of was looking at those 9K fighters, and outside of Umar, who do I have the most faith in getting over 100+ points? I mean, obviously you're going to look at Tsarukyan because of the 5 rounds. And by the way, Sam, appreciate you in the super chat. We'll get to your super chats here in a moment. And then so I'm looking at our top fighter tool, Pete.
Yep.
And I'm looking at the first fight of the night. And I'm going, man, you want to get different tonight. Jinu Frey, can she be optimal? Could she score a TKO victory in the first or second round?
I don't see it. I mean,
but you see where I'm coming from here, though. Thinking about kind of an outside of the box, how do I get different? Did I go there? No, I did not, because I can't trust her. And I can't trust her to score 100+ points. But I was thinking about, man, if you want to get different and you want to separate yourself from the field, and you think she's just going to piece Vanessa Demopoulos up on the feet, it's an interesting leverage spot. I'm just saying.
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I mean, if you're playing 150, it's you see that ownership on our website, and you say, okay, I'm going to get a little bit more aggressive than that. No problem at all. And low level women's MMA, I just don't foresee her getting it would have to be with her hands, to get a TKO. Vanessa Demopoulos did get rocked and dropped against Silvana Gomez Juarez, so it's not out of the realm of possibility. I just think that Demopoulos is pretty damn tough. Of the 9,000 fighters outside of Umar Nurmagomedov, who is most likely to get 100 points, as you mentioned? And Thiago Moises might be my second least favorite, if I have to be honest, because the 5-round nature of the Tsarukyan Mateusz Gamrot fight makes me a little bit more interested in his price tag. But I really, really like Shavkat Rakhmonov, from a finishing standpoint. I think that he has the best finishing odds outside of Nurmagomedov in that 9,000 range. It's just the 5 rounds might boost Tsarukyan's totals.
Yeah, that is something I was kind of thinking about it. And, there was a question we got on Twitter about, how much is too much money to leave in a single bullet type lineup. I kind of said 1,500, I think would be my kind of number. That I wouldn't go more than that. Yeah.
Okay.
But it's a way to get different. Mention over the score from Cleveland 27, favorite GPP play on DraftKings. It's a pricey one, but to me, it's Umar Nurmagomedov.
Yeah, I really like Nurmagomedov.
That's where I like to go there. Let's get a couple of super chats in here. First up from Sam. Appreciate you. He says, JP Bays loses tonight, 2-fight losing streak, week 10, and went through a public divorce with Cheyenne. Thoughts? I think whoever loses that fight's getting cut tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I'm favoring JP Bays because I think that he is the better wrestler in this situation. I worry about his chin, but I love his submission skills, where Cody Durden can get a little lackadaisical at times. And as I mentioned on the strategy show, I thought that JP Bays put Montel Jackson in some pretty, tricky submission attempts. And I think if Durden was in that same situation, he would be submitted. So I like JP Bays, and I'm not a Cody Durden fan. I'm just not. So perhaps it's a little bias, but naturally that 8,200, 8,000 fights always going to squeak it into a lot of your lineup. So I wouldn't ignore Durden there at 8,000 either.
Look, I think JP Bays is a better wrestler in that one. Also, a lot of concerns about Cody Durden, but I think, particularly when you talk about the DraftKings side of the equation, that I think is going to be a fight that's going to be tough to avoid for me. A, price point. B, just kind of how I think that fight is going to go. Sam's next one, he goes, best DK captain and best underdog and one must-have. So looking at the captain contest, so you got Umar 14-7. Rachmanov 13-8, Tsarukyan 13-2. I think Umar is the easy answer, but he's going to carry ownership. So if you're looking, I might try to go with either a Rachmanov, or if I'm going to go down even further, Brown or a Curtis.
I'll tell you what, it's the salary for the captain contest is difficult. Like I want Nurmagomedov in the captain spot, but like the rest of the lineup that it's going to churn out is something I'm not going to agree with. So my best suggestion is, which fight do you think has optimal implications? And for me, it's that Chris Curtis, Rodolfo Vieira. So say I was doing 10 lineups or whatnot, I might make 10 with Chris Curtis in the captain spot. 5 with Chris Curtis in a captain spot and 5 with Rodolfo Vieira, just because I feel like the winner of that fight's going to score really well. And they're both relatively cheap in comparison to some of the other pricey options. And I think that they have high scoring upside.
Yeah, in terms of best underdogs, the two that stick out to me would be Vieira at 6,400, and the other one would be Gamrot at 5,400.
Yeah, Gamrot's so cheap, right? Like even in a losing effort, this is one of the weeks where it's like, if you're not getting to a lot of Mateusz Gamrot, you could be on the outside looking in, because this is a 5-round matchup, super competitive fight. I expect both guys to land takedowns. I expect both guys to nullify each other's strengths in moments. But you're talking about two of the best guys in the world. They're going to have moments and they're going to test each other.
Corey, I appreciate you in the super chat. He said, Pete tried to tell you about Silva last week, but your mind was made up. My mind was made up too.
Corey, let me tell you what, I couldn't have been more wrong about Jasmine Jasudavicius. And I think it's a combination of Jasmine Jasudavicius fighting a little emotional at the beginning, but also like the unknowns surrounding Silva coming off a long layoff. Because I'll tell you what, I watched a lot of tape on her. She was good at striking, but like in the wrestling, defense and everything, she would accept takedowns to play jiu-jitsu off of her back. This girl looked like somebody who's fighting in the top 10. Like she destroyed Jasmine Jasudavicius. My brother-in-law soon to be brother-in-law, hopefully. He messaged me and he's like, dude, what the hell are you telling me to play Jasmine Jasudavicius? I'm like, bro, trust me. I go down with the ship too. So I'm not telling you guys to roster somebody I'm not rostering. Like my read was poor on that, and I just didn't put enough stock into what could have been improved over 2 years. That's the unknown, right? Like she's been away from the cage for so long. It's not the same fighter 2 years later.
Yeah, I always love like those tweets after a fight and, someone's mad because we said something. I'm like, you think my money wasn't in on this?
Yeah. Like, trust me, if I'm telling you guys to play somebody, I played that person as well. And I played it probably a lot more aggressive than you guys did. I'm pretty sure I was like 90% Jasmine Jasudavicius last week, or 95%. So I slapped myself for that one. Don't you worry.
Yeah. But Corey goes on and says, could I get your thoughts on Rodolfo Vieira for a first round submission for DraftKings? Look, if Rodolfo Vieira is going to win this one, to me, it's via submission. You brought up a great point of, you go back to that PFL fight against Magomed Karamov, excuse me, where he got taken down. And, when you listen to Chris Curtis, when he talked to me this week, he was like, look, I understand what people want to do against me. He's like, but my job is to make sure they can't do that against me here. I mean, that's why, like, I mentioned about, I like the Chris Curtis over 6-minute fight time. I understand there's some volatility that over at PrizePicks, but I think that Chris Curtis is going to kind of lay back a little bit and maybe try to start putting it on, for between the 4 and 6-minute mark.
Yeah. I mean, if it was as simple as saying who's the better fighter over 15 minutes, it's Chris Curtis. Who's the better fighter in the first 7 minutes? It's a little tough because Chris Curtis sometimes takes a little bit to get going. He'll get hit at times to kind of wake up. He can get taken down, and Rodolfo Vieira is so strong in round 1. So Corey, I made a portion of my lineups accounting for that same exact fear, because I do have that fear despite being a Chris Curtis guy. I'm like, you know what, Rodolfo, I know that Anthony Hernandez defeat is like, it looks really bad in hindsight, but he's still one of the best jiu-jitsu practitioners in MMA at the moment. And I have to respect his skill set. So that's where I made a large portion of my lineups, including Rodolfo Vieira or Chris Curtis.
Yeah. I mean, what's the line we hear in MMA all the time? Losing your cardio can make you, what's the line? I heard Anthony Smith was talking about this week.
It's fatigue makes a coward of us all. And that is the truth, man. Like when you see the best athletes in the world and they're tired, all of a sudden they're making elementary mistakes. And that's why, like, I really, really hammer home being in shape for my guys. Like, that is the number one thing. The better fighter doesn't always win. A lot of times it comes down to who's in better shape. So I'm trying to make everybody, including myself, be in the most optimal shape at all times.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Of course, this is the MMA Live for Lock, getting ready for UFC Vegas number 57. When you want to get access to all the great tools and content we have over at Stokastic.com, you got to sign up for a Stokastic Plus Platinum Pass. And of course, if you've never been a user of our premium service, we've got a great offer for you right now where you can get 50% off your first month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. All you got to do is click that video link below or hit that promo code MMALBL, one word, all caps, MMALBL, which will get you 50% off your first month of Stokastic Plus Platinum. And of course, this is for new users only. When you hit that promo code, that lets the management here let everyone know that you heard about it right here on the MMA Live Before Lock show. Of course, those are the tools that we use. Player projections, that in terms of MMA, that top fighter tool that I use. Of course, if you just want MMA Pass, we got MMA Passes over there, as well as those start as low as $2.95 weekly, and highly recommend adding on Fantasy Cruncher to your account, because that is going to help you out so much in terms of developing those multi lineups, as I was making some lineups here earlier on today. And I'll tell you, Pete, when I was doing my crunches, there were some fighters that I was like, yeah, getting way too much of that fighter. I had to go in there. I had to, alter some things of, it was just like, like Jin Frey was one that I just didn't want to get a ton to. For sure. And, quick shout out to everybody listening to the show. We really appreciate you guys. We got like 450 people in here. If you guys enjoy what we do, if you can hit that like button, get us over 100 likes, it really does a lot for us and we really appreciate it. And, this show is possible because of you guys supporting us, and we love talking fights. What's better than this? And of course, if you got any questions, be sure to line those up in chat. If you leave a super chat, your question will go to the top of the queue. So I'll go back up to some of these early questions and get some answers here for you. Spencer asking favorite MVP on FanDuel and cheap plays. In terms of favorite MVP for me, it would be Umar. Rakhmonov would be number 2. I think if you're looking at maybe you can get different and going someone not named Umar, Rakhmonov, or Tsarukyan. In terms of cheap plays, I think the ones that stick out to me would be Paiva, Demopoulos, and Vieira.
It's so annoying that you can't sort FanDuel by like fight number, because that's like how I like to look at things, by the fights and their opponents and everything. But you have to think of the platform. And for FanDuel, we really want to look at, some strikers with some high finish upside. So I think that Shavkat Rakhmonov at 22 sticks out like a sore thumb. I know it's a big, massive step up in competition. Yes, he could get a submission finish over Neil Magny. Big step up in competition, dealing with a larger frame foe. The interesting fight for me for FanDuel specifically is the Tafon Nchukwi and Carlos Ulberg, where Ulberg is favored. on DraftKings, and over on FanDuel, he's sitting there at 14. So there's a little discrepancy from site to site. And if you're an Olberg backer and you like him on DraftKings, why the hell would you not like him over there on FanDuel sitting there at 14?
Yeah, no doubt about it. Mitch, a question we got in from chat saying thoughts on Junkie and Olberg. I texted Speed earlier today. Olberg, I think, is a interesting leverage play today.
Yeah, I mean, city kickboxing guy, right? Like, I love city kickboxing. Strong stable of teammates, great coaching staff. You know that he'll be prepared. Coming from a striking background, which is great, but it also means that for a long portion of his career and life, he wasn't training in all areas, where Tafon Achukwi kind of comes from the same background. Like, he started to really work on his takedowns a little bit at Team Lloyd Irvin. And I think that he has the takedown X factor in this matchup. But I mean, Tafon is coming off a knockout defeat. So I ended up getting to a little bit of Carlos Olberg, and because he throws really hard combinations, I just worry about his striking defense.
Yeah, no, you know, that's one of those fights. There's just a couple fights in this card that just kind of concern me a little bit. That is one of those fights that does concern me a little bit. Sean asking best underdog. I think in terms of, for me, best underdog to win the fight.
Oh boy, let's hear it.
It might be Paiva.
I think it's a close fight, man. I mean, I might say Josh Parisian, but I freaking hate that fight. And I'm rostering it with like my eyes like closed. And my fear is just, like I said, the 15-minute heavyweight decision.
Yeah. Okay. Asking if it's okay to play both sides in a main event in cash. I don't mind that.
I actually don't mind that in cash at all.
Yeah.
Like, I kept building a ton of lineups, right? And you know that I'm trying to get to some Demopolis today. And I keep saying that Mateusz Gamrot is so cheap for 5 rounds. So cheap. And I'm going to say it over and over. Even in a losing effort against Guram Kutateladze, he scored 55.5. So I think a losing effort could basically outscore some winning efforts from some of these other fighters.
Mitch, a question we got over in Discord. What's a fight we're overlooking? And I already have a thought on this one.
What? Thiago Moises, Christos Giagos. Do you agree?
That wasn't the fight I was going to say, but
Okay.
I get where you're going. I was going to go with the TJ Brown fight.
Oh, we didn't even mention that. Yes. Good one, Jason. Very
just
good.
Because of, I believe TJ should win that fight, but I mean, you know, he's an action fighter, and he can, you know, we could see a lot of scrambles, you know, sweeps, that type of situation. But I think that fight may be the fight we're just not talking about.
Wow. You know what's crazy is how Shayilan Nerd on Becca has 36 professional wins. Granted, it's against international talent, but 36 wins, like, you got to be doing something to get 36 wins. 36 wins, 10 defeats. I wasn't all that impressed with him in his fight against Josh Kulabau. Josh Kulabau now looks like he's a solid UFC fighter, right? Like, he ended up pulling off an upset the other weekend over Sungwoo Choi. Granted, it was a split decision win, but he looked much more improved against Sean Soriano. But when Sean Soriano is reversing you and putting you on your back in certain scrambles, I would like to believe that TJ Brown splitting camp between James Krause and Bryce Mitchell is going to put you in some bad positions on the mat, or just defend some takedowns and punish you with his better striking and good calf kicks.
Yeah, that's I'm interested to hear what that corner sounds like.
Oh man.
Between those two guys.
Yeah, I know.
I will say this, James Krause recently started a YouTube channel where he talks about the betting side of the sport. So it's all, you know, like you mentioned about earlier on the show of, you know, it's one of those things that we love to take in as much knowledge as we can on the sport, just kind of see how people look at fights maybe a little bit differently here. We haven't talked much about the Mario Batista and Brian Kelleher fight, and I know that both these guys' names have come up here. Obviously Kelleher back here at 135 pounds. And, one of the people in the chat brought up an interesting point of what if Kelleher goes the takedown route?
I mean, I was surprised when I saw the odds. I think that they should be favoring Mario Batista, but I mean, for a DraftKings salary, 8,700 to 7,500, I view that a little bit closer. I think that Mario Batista is pretty talented on the mat and can defend takedowns pretty well. Like Jay Perrin took him down, but he was able to defend 3 takedowns. 3 takedowns were defended against Trevin Jones, 3 against Jinsu Son. And, he comes from a very good camp. So they're going to have a nice game plan and they're going to be prepared. Brian Kelleher hits really, really hard and has tremendous experience for this division inside the UFC and also dabbling in at 145 pounds as well. It's just like at this stage of the game in 2022, does Kelleher have the same efficiency that he once did? He landed 6 of 8 takedowns against Kevin Kroom. I believe that Mario Batista is a better grappler and wrestler than Kevin Kroom. 3 of 3 against Dom Pilarte. I feel like he could take him down, but it's not like he's going to take him to takedown city. I feel like this could be like he takes Batista down, Batista reverses position, and he looks to, land a takedown of his own right. And that's where Mr. Guillotine himself could capitalize on a position like that and land a nice quick finish.
Of course, this is the MMA Live Before Lock show. We're getting you ready for UFC Vegas number 57, which just starts in under 30 minutes from now. And we are sponsored by PrizePicks. You got to check out over at prizepicks.com. Download in their in the app store. Of course, when you sign up, be sure to use that promo code AWESEMOs. They'll have a instant first match deposit of up to $100. And of course, if you're like myself, where you're in a state where you can't bet on the fights, PrizePicks is a great way to go over there. I've already got a couple of PrizePicks plays in here for today. And, the 2 PrizePicks plays that we mentioned on Thursday, I still like them here because they haven't changed at all. I know Pete's kind of not totally on board with this one, but I do like the over 6 minutes fight time for Chris Curtis. But the one that I know both of us do favor here is the over 68.5 significant strikes for Mario Batista.
Yeah, I mean, if this fight gets stretched out, he's going to hit that mark. I mean, he threw 248 significant strikes against Jinsu Son over 15 minutes, landed 129, and then most recently against Jay Perrin, a fight where I feel like it's going to be pretty similar. He threw 125 and landed 72. So I think that number's off, and I would be hitting the over on the Batista significant strikes.
Looking at some of the takedown props you have over there, when her number was 1.5, it was a more interesting number, but Jin Yu Frey now at 1 takedown. I mean, look, I tough to play the under there. Yeah. I mean, because what happens, she's just 1. But you would think that from a fighter IQ aspect that she would not go the takedown route, but man, that's a tough number to play. The Rodolfo Vieira 1.5 takedowns, I think, is an underplay for me. Because I do kind of wonder if he does get a takedown, does he just submit him on the ground there?
He might just need one, Jason.
Cody Durden, 2.5 takedowns. I'd probably lean on the under on that one.
That's under.
The Mario Batista fight time at 12.5 minutes, I would lean the over there. Mm-hmm. I'd probably lean on the under on Carlos Ulberg at 10 minutes.
You think that gets stopped? I don't think that gets stopped. I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, the question is what does Njoku look like after being not KO'd 3 months ago?
Yeah, I mean, that's fair, and that's a fair fear. It's just like the patient Ulberg in fear of overexerting himself and gassing out, as he did in his first matchup, led to a patient striking attack, and that's where I can see a patient striking affair between both of these guys going the distance.
Other one I'll mention here, Jin Yu Frey, 45.5 significant strikes. If you think that's going to be a 3-round fight, I would think you have to play the over.
Yeah, Jin Yu Frey and fight IQ are not. They do not go well together. So I don't know what to expect with her. And that submission defeat to Kay Hansen looked like I don't know. It's such a mistake. And she realized that she was screwed in making some decisions of continuing to grapple. I don't know. We'll have to see, right? I'm hoping that Vanessa Demopoulos pulls it off.
Of course, be sure to check out PrizePicks. You go to their website, prizepicks.com. You go in the App Store, download their app, and when you sign up, be sure to use that promo code AWESEMO for instant first match deposit of up to $100. Get back to the questions here. Of course, you got any questions? If you throw us a super chat, your question will go to the top of the queue. Let's go. Ryan here. He goes, FanDuel single entry, Olberg and Boudreaux, or Njeku and Paiva. That's an interesting 2v2, Pete.
Yeah, it's a very good 2v2. And I like what he's doing. I probably would just make another lineup. That's really what I would do and play the other side, because I like the strategy that he's in, the thought process. He's like, okay, Paiva has that striking upside. Olberg has that strike. You know what I mean? Like, he's targeting the platform correctly. So props to you. I can't discriminate against it because I don't know the rest of your lineup.
Better GPP play, Demopoulos or Gamrot?
I got to say Gamrot.
It's the safer option.
Yeah, I mean, what would you do if Demopoulos like takes Jinu Frey to take down City? I would lose my mind because
that would be crazy.
I'm overexposed.
Yeah, that would be crazy to me.
I hope it would be crazy. I mean, she is with Fight Ready, Jason, right? Like, even if you're the worst fighter in the room, you're going to elevate your game. She is a very good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner, just awarded her black belt. And she spoke to Jason Floyd in her pre-fight interview. So that is more reason to bet her going down Narrative Street right now. Do you have a streak, or do you happen to know the record of fighters that talk to you and if they're victorious or if they're not with the UFC?
I have not.
We should start doing that, because
I've not done it. I will tell you that my next show comes out tomorrow. I've got Billy Quarantillo on. Beautiful. I've got Dustin Jacoby on. Dustin Jacoby told me something interesting. He prefers a fight in the smaller cage.
Why? He's a striker.
I know. I was surprised.
Yeah, okay, so what that could be is like he could train in the small cage. Yeah. So like that could be it.
We did have an interesting conversation talking about how I told him, I said, I've got one interview request out there. I know it'll never happen. I want to interview a USADA drug tester.
Ooh. That one.
How do you get into that? What do you tell people what you do? Do you tell people you stand right next to a dude as he's peeing?
wait, where are you going with this? Oh gosh. I mean, these are questions that need answers, Jason. And
he told me a story about getting woke up at 5 a.m.
Yeah, what a job, huh?
Tester coming to test me. He says usually I get the strength and conditioning at 6 a.m. He goes, usually he's right there, 6 a.m. waiting at the door for me. And he said, yeah. But the interesting thing he did say, he said when he does the blood test, it takes longer. He says it takes at least 15 minutes. Yeah,
I mean, they're going to try to catch you when you're lacking and when you're not thinking that they're going to be there. And we've heard all those stories about the USADA testing and people hiding and all of that crazy stuff.
Oh yeah, man. I can only imagine the stories a USADA drug tester could tell. Next up, he goes, in GPP for DraftKings, would you think it's good to have both Umar and Rakhmonov in a line? It just leaves you with not a ton of salary and with not many amazing dogs. I mean, look, if you're going to put both those guys, I think that then you're kind of looking at the Demopoulos, the Kellehers,
and a Mateusz Gamrot. Imagine
Yagos, Gamrot. I mean, that's where you're going to live.
And I'll tell you, if people are building on Stokastic using the Fantasy Cruncher tool, and you wanted to just say, I want to get to 2 or possibly 3 of these high-priced options, naturally you're going to have those low-end options as your other players. And, Neil Magny's a guy we haven't mentioned. And I know that we've had some questions about it. And in 2022, do you like him to beat the undefeated prospect of Shavkat Rakhmonov? No. I think that his volume gives a lot of people problems. And if he didn't get knocked down against Max Griffin and rally back, which he did, He has 30. What does he have? 34 professional fights, 26 victories, 8 defeats. He's in a great spot to spoil and take that O from Shavkat Rakhmonov. I just don't think that his chin can hold up, truthfully.
Yeah. Let's see here.
Ooh, I like that.
Last fight on DraftKings, Sergey or Batista? How we go Batista?
I personally think that Sergey Morozov has more upside. Just of how I see that fight going. I like the Holly and Paiva side. I like the Morozov side. Morozov has tremendous takedown upside, and Paiva works back to his feet really well. So, when a guy knows how to get back to his feet, that's great for us DFS scorers out there and DFS players where, get back to your feet and get taken down again. And that could be the same situation, TJ Brown against Shah Yilan. And that's my hope.
Next up, Angelo goes, is there a situation where Gamrot could and potentially ends up in the optimal a la Volkanovski Holloway?
That's what I was about to say is, man, what a great question. AFC Angelo. What a great question. So Gamrot and Tsarukyan potentially in the optimal, as Volkanovski and Holloway were. If you had like a pace metric that you could put on some of these fights, which we do, I view this fight as an extremely high-paced fight, an extremely highly skilled fight. Mm-hmm. So this could be a back and forth banger, man. Like it really could. The Yuri and Glover fight, never did I ever think that was going to go as long as it did and have so much action. This main event, I can see it having crazy moments where it's kind of just like the morale of each guy that they're having success and the other guy starts to come back and it's just teeter-tottering between the two.
I know there's a question about stacking. The only fight I would stack this week would be in cash, and that would be the main event. Let's talk a little Christos Giagos because people are asking about Christos. Okay. Now training down at Sanford MMA. This is his second camp at Sanford. I know he's done some interviews where he talked about his first camp. There was a lot of things going on and did perform the way he wants to. Look, I think he's got fine upside as a punt play. I do kind of, I look at it and say I think he's going to want to make this a grappling matchup. But when I think Thiago, I think of grappling, I think of jiu-jitsu. But my concern with Giagos is if he can't get the finish within the first 7.5 minutes, and is that gas tank going to be there?
Yeah, that gas tank of Christos Giagos is what really makes me hesitate of putting him in some of my lineups. I mean, naturally, I'm putting him in some of my lineups because the price tag's too damn cheap. And I think that fight, despite Thiago Moises fighting some of the best fighters in his past 2 fights, and Joel Alvarez and Islam Makhachev, this is a close fight within the lightweight division. And Christos Giagos trains with animals. So they're going to be competitive until one fighter starts to not be able to keep up the pace. And if I had to guess, if everything remained the same, Christos Giagos, his output is going to be affected dramatically outside of round 1, that 7-minute mark. I think that's where Thiago Moises could capitalize. It's just like, Giago, do you really want to go to the mat with Thiago Moises? Because we've seen it before where he gets threatened and he gets submitted. I mean, he was submitted against Gilbert Burns, animal. Now his current training partner. Submitted against Charles Oliveira, animal. Knocked out against Arman Tsarukyan in round 1. So, like, he looked good early, but then he didn't. And when he falls apart, that's where I feel like Thiago Moises could capitalize in. Full transparency, I thought Thiago Moises was a fraud. I really did. I did not think that he was all that good. And I still don't know what to make of him. That 9,000 price tag is a little interesting to me. And if you want to look at a guy, if he's going to win, Giagos could score decent given his salary. I mean, he scored 95 against Sean Soriano. That was a submission win. I don't see it. In the decision against Carlton Minus, was super low level, only scored 92. So that's why I'm still leaning in Thiago Moises' favor.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really know if I want to get there GPP wise.
Yeah, same.
That price, that 9,000 price tag scares me.
I kept landing on 9,000 left in my lineups. I'm like, well, naturally I want to leave salary on the table sometimes. And I'm like, I don't really have any like reason to play Thiago Moises. I don't know. I could be hating and I could just be a little underweight to him. And that could make him one of the most appealing 9,000 options. And maybe everybody's a little hesitant on him. But and this is he needs a win right now. Back-to-back defeats against Islam Makhachev and Joel Alvarez. So he could be coming out here looking to make a statement.
I'm not sure saying that I'm a Chris Curtis type of athlete means. I can definitely not do the splits. Can definitely not do that.
What the hell? Oh man, chat is amazing right now. And again, thank you guys for tuning into the show. We truly appreciate it.
Someone mentioned about Chris Curtis fight time. I like the over 6 minutes in that one, but I mean, look, it's it's a dangerous line. I could be living on that, trying to get the 601 with that over there. As I will tell you, I just put a 2 prop parlay over on PrizePicks in. I went with the under 2.5 takedowns on Umar Nurmagomedov and the under 2.5 takedowns on Cody Durden.
Under for Umar?
I think he keeps fight on the feet.
Why the hell would he do that? Why? I mean, he could. But
yeah, I mean, this isn't Habib, bro.
Bro, he's amazing on the mat.
I know, but I think he's amazing overall.
Okay, I agree with you. I hope he gets rid of Manus. I'm tired of seeing Manus. I just get rid of him. And yeah, okay. So remember we were on Thursday, we were breaking it down, and you're like, how come this salary for this fighter just feels bad, despite us thinking that he's going to go out there and win pretty handily? Who am I talking about, Jason?
You're going to win handily, but you don't like the price tag.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about handily, but we're pretty confident that we like him. But it's like, it just feels bad. Feel like he could be that person to ruin parlays or go out there and possibly lay an egg in a spot where we really favored him.
You thinking TJ Brown?
It's TJ Brown, bro. Right? So naturally, what does that do? Does that make you want to get to Shailan? Ugh. I mean, I don't know. It's just if you look at Shailan's record, right? Tons of wins. And I looked into it, 36 wins. I'm like, holy moly. He has a ton of submission wins, even like off of his back. And the fight IQ of TJ Brown has been questionable. That's all I'm saying. Is I'm not crossing off Shailan, and I'm fully expecting TJ Brown to dominate. But there's something to be said when the guy has so many victories. I don't care if he's fighting people from the crowd or whatnot. That's still a lot of people from the crowd that he's submitted. So 36 wins is a lot.
No, I tell you, I mean, look, we're always every week we're talking about who's going to be that fighter that we're not talking about, and maybe it is him. Now, do you want to earn money promoting Stokastic products? Join our new affiliate program, become a Stokastic partner, and get paid every time someone makes a purchase using your personal link. Any new member that you refer you'll receive 20% of that member's first 2 Stokastic payments. Refer your friends, share it on social media, or do whatever else you have to do to get people signed up. You'll get 20% of a new member's first 2 payments guaranteed if it's done through your personal link. For more information, visit stokastic.com/affiliate-program or follow the link in the video description below. Join, promote, profit with the Stokastic affiliate program. Sam.
Sam is always saying we look at dummy thick. Always look at dummy thick. I appreciate you, Sam. And Sam's the man. All the Sams. We got a bunch of different Sams supporting us, don't we? So shout out to you guys.
Oh, man.
Durden will win violently, he says. I sure as hell hope not, because I actually like JP Bays. As far as like a fighter that sticks around, I don't know. JP Bays, I don't know the ins and outs of the marriage and all that and the divorce. But like, I'd much rather see JP Bays get another UFC fight than see Cody Durden get another UFC fight for his comments he said against.
When I think Cody Durden, violence is not something I think. Of. I think of he's going hugging. To the Chris Gutierrez fight Where, I mean, yeah, he dominated Chris Curtis, but he landed 3 strikes? He out grappled him.
Is a Snuggie violent? I don't think a Snuggie's violent. So, I mean, it's going to be like take him down and just lay on him. But I really don't think JP Base is going to allow that to happen. It could be off. And this could be that Jasmine Jasuda Vicious and Silva fight that Corey wants to throw in my face. And granted, I was wrong. I hope I'm not wrong with this one.
JP Base is in every one of my single entry lineups.
I like it. Cody Durden drinks monsters and wears Etnies. Oh goodness, chat is crazy right now. You guys.
Oh no! Oh, you didn't see the one? Jordan Levitt is Jason's spirit animal, so he does the splits and twerks. Yeah, no, that ain't happening, man. That ain't happening.
We need to put Jason's face on Jordan Levitt while he's doing all the celebrations. I feel like I might die of laughter. That would be amazing.
By the way, Spencer, today is not my birthday.
Yeah. Nicholas Lynn saying Pete is as thick as Brendan Schaub is good at comedy. That's fantastic right there. That's pretty good. That is good right there.
Ouch.
All right, let's see. Where are we at right now? Chat is wild.
Rick, man, I love some fires with some bungalows, but in the JP Base fight, I'm not expecting bungalows. I'm expecting him to utilize some takedowns and control time, rack up some points.
Yeah, same. Who's throwing them bungalows? That might be the first time I've ever said that. And it just feels.
Who will throw them bungalows?
Who's throwing them tonight? Is Alain Badeau throwing them? Because I sure as hope so.
He would be one. He would definitely be one of them. Carlos Olberg, Curtis. I think. Yeah, Curtis Olberg, Jeku. Those would be my top ones.
Jason will take you down and do your taxes.
See, now, okay, that one's way more relatable because my family's in the tax business. So, kid, that is way more relatable.
Oh, God. Oh, man, that's amazing.
Let's see here. Someone talking about the mental side of it. I was listening to John Morgan's podcast. Britt Hart, who was fighting in the BKFC show last night, she pulled out of her last fight due to personal reasons. She disclosed what those personal reasons were. She had a miscarriage.
Oh, dang.
Her husband is Joey Beltran.
Oh, dang.
They found out about the miscarriage the week of his last fight, and he got knocked out.
Yeah, well, that's the stuff we can't. No. You guys, chat's got me crying over here. We go from one side of the spectrum to the complete opposite. I'm over here laughing about the taxes comment.
But the thing is there's things we know about a fight.
Yeah.
And then there's things we don't know, the things that are going on behind the scenes. And those are things that may not come out for 6 months, a year later.
Yeah. And that's the thing, right? Like maybe, a player has an off day and, they can have another game to redeem themselves. For fighting, it's months, and you need to be on point on that fight day. And that's why targeting underdogs, I will never argue against you because these odds don't mean jack. To a point they do, but we see it all the time. Tell me the stat you texted me last night about Bellator main events of how naturally the Bellators are super heavy favorites and they come out and they're always dominant.
Underdogs are now 6-4 in Bellator main events in 2022.
See, that's something to note, man. And there was a time period throughout the COVID era where the underdogs in the main event on the UFC cards were just completely smashing.
Let's try to get a couple of fast ones in here before the fight start here. Favorite MVP on FanDuel, to me, I would go Umar Nurmagomedov. I'm
going to go Umar as well.
Man, Joshua's coming at you. What Pete, what are the odds you're a 7K fighter UFC debut?
Probably 100%. That would be a 7K. I might even be a 6K fighter in my UFC if I were to make it to the UFC. That's just how it is. Now, when Bellator, if we ever had Bellator DFS, you'll be damned that I'll be one of those 9,000 fighters.
Hey, Cody Law would have been one of those 9,000 fighters last night.
Don't even bring that up, Jason. Why you got to bring that up? Jason knows that I lost money last night on Cody Law, so he just has to bring it up.
Hey, bro, I'm the one that sits on my podcast and touts up Cody Law, so I'm in the same position you are. Artie, I would not look good in cowboy hat. No, that would not happen. Rachmanov and Gamrot or Olberg and Badeau. DraftKings.
I like the first one.
Paiva or Parisian?
Shoot, that's close. I'm going to go Parisian.
And Sam with the one-liners.
Damn, Sam. I don't even. Well, guess what? This is where JP Bays turns it all around, Sam.
Yeah.
Damn. Oh my God.
Yeah. Paiva, if he wins, will score high. I would agree with that.
I think so too. That's a priority fight for me.
Yeah. And Angela, you bring up a great point. I mean, look, if tonight is a low scoring night, stacking the main event, could very well end up being optimal.
I wouldn't stack any other fight, right? Like there's no other fight that would really make me want to. It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. Andrew says, thanks guys, Parisian and Demopolis for everything.
I hope. I hope.
I think those will be two fighters that a lot of people will get to. That's why, I'm interested once we hit lock here in 2 minutes from now, I'm interested to see what some of these ownership figures ultimately end up being.
Yeah. And Kelleher, man, Kelleher could be that guy that we didn't talk too much. I mean, we talked about him, but we touched on everybody, right? Like Tafana Chukwi is probably the only guy we didn't necessarily get to a ton, but I think it's a competitive fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a fight that's going to play on the feet. It's just, and you mentioned this on Thursday, of coming back this quickly from a knockout loss.
Yeah, I hate it.
And there's some coaches that they really try to avoid. They don't want to get there. I mean, that to me is ultimately the question with him. But of course, appreciate everyone tuning in here. Of course, as the show ends, if you haven't hit that thumbs up button, we really would appreciate you. And of course, that is going to do it for us. We'll be back next week on Thursday as we'll get you ready for UFC 276. Izzy and Cannonier, Volk and Holloway. Third fight for Volk and Holloway. Who knows? They might fight 8 times at this point.
I'm here for it though. It's a great card, and good luck to everybody tonight, man. It was a great show.
Yeah, good luck to everyone out there. And until Thursday, hope everyone has a great night. And we'll talk to you on Thursday on the Strategy Show. See you later.